Have you ever thought, is this just me when struggling to stay organized, start tasks, or manage time? For those of us over 50, these challenges might not be just aging. They could be ADHD hiding in plain sight for decades. I'm Jami Shapiro, host of Grandma Has ADHD, and I'm building a community where your experiences matter. Whether you're diagnosed, questioning, or simply curious, you're not alone. Our Facebook group is filled with vibrant, understanding people over 50 who share their stories, strategies, and yes, even their struggles, with plenty of laughter along the way. Ready to find your people? Join our growing Grandma Has ADHD Facebook community. Please like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen and share it with someone who might need to hear they're not alone, because ADHD doesn't have an age limit and neither does understanding yourself better. Together, we're changing the conversation about ADHD after 50. Come be part of the story. Hi, and welcome to the latest edition of Grandma Has ADHD. I always say I'm excited to bring guests on, but I'm really excited to bring you on, Jane. So, this is going to be a really different, very interesting conversation that we're going to have. This may not be the typical ADHD conversation, and I didn't invite this guest on to have that ADHD conversation. I invited her on because I always share about my hyperfixation being ADHD, and that's my passion, but I haven't shared that my other passion happens to be life after death and what comes next. And so it was a crazy story when Jane reached out to me, Jami Shapiro, as the owner of Silver Linings Transitions in San Diego. She had been working for a competitor and wasn't really happy with the way, the direction of the company, and really wanted to be with a heart-centered company that was more aligned with her values. And I really liked her, and I went on Facebook to sort of check her out because, of course, if I'm bringing somebody into people's homes, and I saw that she was the author of a book called The Next Room. And I didn't honestly pay a whole lot of attention other than the fact that I knew that she had co-authored it with her mother, who had passed, Jane Asher. And again, because that's been my other hobby, I thought, well, that's really cool. I'd love to get to know her. Well, we brought her in just like we would bring anybody else in for a working interview to make sure that she was a good fit for the company. And we all loved her. So she was hired, but I still had not met with her in person. So we actually did a very wonderful lunch together where we went all over the place in our conversation. We talked about work. We talked about her book. We talked about my book and writing my book. And then I left her with the magic wand that we give to our employees, because the tagline of Silver Linings Transitions is making moves magical, and our team gets magic wands. And there's a whole lot of stuff behind it. Not realizing that in Jane's book, she actually mentions the magic wand. After our meeting, Jane sends me the book and with a lovely message, and I read the book. And after I read the book, I said, I have to have Jane on the podcast. So I'm going to let Jane share a little bit about her backstory, and then we'll kind of go from there. So Jane, thank you. Thank you. The book is unbelievable. And there were so many times and little things that were in there that I'm like, she's supposed to be in my life. Like, you're just supposed to be in my life. It's crazy. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jami. And I will say that when I called and left a message and then you called me back, I was like, this is so cool. This is the way it's supposed to be, right? This is the connection of not having to effort a relationship and just put yourself out there and have it be as magical as it was, the way that you called me back. And I think within about 3 or 4 minutes of us having our first conversation, you said, I'm really spiritual. And I was like, right on. Like, let's just go. Let's just get this party started.
So I have to interrupt you because that's what people with ADHD do. But it was interesting because I had actually just let an employee go, which is not something that we do lightly. And it's really hard. And the reason that we held on to her for so long is that she was excellent with the clients, excellent. And she was super talented. And it was sort of along with your book, like when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And that's been my whole path of starting my business is okay, nothing has to be efforted. What is supposed to be there is going to be there for you.
I completely agree with that philosophy. I've
Mhm,
always lived my life like that. I just really get up, give thanks, and what is in front of me and the breadcrumbs, you just follow them. And it makes
mhm,
life a lot easier than to
mhm,
try to force something and push that boulder uphill or work with, in my case, with a company that I just didn't see the integrity, didn't feel the love. And I
mhm,
was like, man, what am I doing? I was getting
mhm,
headaches going to work. And I'm like,
mhm,
nah, I don't need to do this. And
mhm,
so I had already decided to leave regardless if I had another job. I was
mhm,
that like over it. So it's nice to connect with somebody that's like-minded and also that wants to do discovery and kind of grow while we're here. We're here for a minute or two, right? And then
mhm,
we're in the next room that I like to refer
mhm,
to. So
mhm,
we may as well get our groove on while we're here and be as cool as possible and use compassion. And like with your company, Jamie, it's seniors. It's like, they're my heart. It's like the art of walking slow. Have
mhm,
to figure out how to slow down and reach out and help people because so many people need help right now. And there's just a lot of harsh behavior on the planet that's
mhm,
very unnecessary. So,
mhm.
anyway, long way to go to explain how we ended up together.
Sure, and it was so evident too how you would have been drawn to this kind of work. I know that your other work is hosting a podcast and writing books and just wanting to sort of do mission work, working with people and making a difference in their lives. And so your book was amazing, Jane. I'm so honored that you are my friend and work with my team. And anyway, so let's talk a little bit about the book before we even
Okay.
go into ADHD. Because a lot of people will not have read it, but I hope that they will, and we're gonna definitely put in the show notes how they can find the book, but just start the listener on the journey of what the book is about, how you got to it.
Okay. Oh, goodness. My best friend was my mother, still is my mother. And she crossed in 2010. And I was lost. I was devastated. I was just a mere shadow of myself. The day I got the phone call that she had crossed over, I just lost it, like guttural screams of agony. And so shortly after she crossed over, I started like things were happening, like messages were coming in like crazy. And so I just started writing everything down. And I always thought I was going to write a book, but I had no idea how to write a book. I didn't know what it would be about. I have all these bits and pieces and stories around in my brain, and I've got probably 3 or 4 different scripts on my laptop. But for this, she was gone. And so all I had were my memories and my journals and all the stuff that I had been writing along the way. And so I just kept thinking, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book about my mom. I'm going to write a book about our relationship. But one thing led to another. And through these messages that I was getting from her from the other side, I'm like, I know what I have to write about now. I was worried. I'm in my head all the time. Oh, how am I going to get perceived? Or are people going to think I've flipped my dome doily, like my mom would say? But I just had to do it. I had to speak my truth because everything in here is the gospel truth of what occurred after she left. And the messages that I was receiving were worldly, is the
Mhm.
best way I can say it.
Sure. Well, I loved the story of your father. I love,
Mm,
first of all, that you grew up in a Christian household,
yes,
going to church every weekend, because I know that there are a lot of Christians who
right.
would question, and also probably Jewish people and people of other faiths that would question this woo woo side or this, crossing over side. So I want you to share the story of your dad because it definitely was to me very pivotal in your story.
Oh, I will. All right. So Big Don, my dad is such a character. And mom left 7.5 years before him, roughly. And he was just devastated. It was his best friend. They had been married 62 years. And so he came out to visit and hang out with us. I was turning 50. He came across the country because we had to get him out of Michigan. He had really lost his motivation to live after mom died. And so my big sister Lynn gives me a call and says, "Hey, we got to get Don out of the snow. Can we send him out to see you? He can be with you for your birthday, the whole 9 yards." I said, "Absolutely." So dad came out for a month. One day after I got the kids off to school, he came out and he was like, "Hey, I want to talk to your friend." And I said, "Dad, you're going to have to be more specific. I have a lot of friends." And he goes, "The one that does seances and stuff." So I start laughing. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my friend Pam." Now, I had this really good friend who was a renowned psychic in Santa Barbara, and she used to come on the radio all the time and tell everybody these very interesting things. And I was fascinated, but she was just my girlfriend. Like, I didn't, after I realized the gift she had, I didn't really ever utilize those because I didn't want that to come in, you know,
Sure.
a wall between our relationship. So I said, "Dad, she's expensive. I'll give her a call. I'll see if she wants to chat with you." Sure enough, I call Pam. She's like, "Yeah, I'll talk to your dad." Great. Next day, I stick him out in the backyard, give him the landline. He's talking to Pam. And I kept peeking around the corner to see if he was off the phone. And he was on the phone. I thought, what have you done? You know, you put your dear friend on with your grieving dad. He was
Mm.
83, 84 at the time. Finally, they had hung up, and I walk outside, and Jamie, tears are streaming down his big cheeks. And he goes, I'm like, "Oh, no, what'd you do? What'd you do? What'd you do? I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry." He goes, "No, no, it's okay. She was here." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, your mother was here." And so he jumps up, starts bolting across my living room to come out to this little space, my studio out in the garage. She's sending a recording. We've got to listen to it. So I plopped him down in my main chair. I pulled up a stool. Sure enough, she sent a recording of their conversation. And
Mhm.
it was so my mom. I mean, this is back in the day. My folks never even had a computer. They had no email. They didn't have cell phones. They were
Mm.
very, you couldn't Google them or find out anything about them.
Mhm.
So he spoke like my mom. She was using phrases like my mother. It was extraordinary. And I'm not saying that this should ever take place of counsel or your pastor or your priest or whatever you go to seek solace, but it was remarkable what happened with my dad. He all of a
Mhm.
sudden completely felt like, "Okay, I'm not crazy. She
Mhm.
is still with me. She's
Mhm.
just beyond the veil, and I one day will be reunited with her." So,
Mhm.
honestly, my dad got the party started because the book that I thought I was writing had nothing to do with this. It was gonna be, "I love my mom, I love my mom, I love my mom." And because of Don's belief, here he is, major big Christian guy for 84 years, baptized and confirmed and never missed church. He would call me and go, "You going to church?" I'm like, "Nah, not this week. Kingdom of heaven comes from within." So he started it. And so after that fact, what I would do every birthday for him, I would give him an hour conversation with Pam. And I have all the recordings on tape now. So that really leaned into the fact that I now had my mother on a CD, my dad talking to her, asking questions, and my mother chiming in, saying things directly to me so that I could transcribe for the book. So that
Mhm.
is part 3 of the book is really the conversation with myself, Pam, and my mother.
I loved it, and it was also like, wow, when you actually at one point Pam is no longer part of the conversation with you, and you are
Right.
immediately speaking to your mom.
Yes.
And that was sort of like, I mean, like I said, I totally believe it 100%. I've heard too many stories. I love Brian Weiss, who's written the book
Mm,
Many Lives, Many Masters.
great
If
book.
for anybody who's listening and you just want to dabble
Great
into
book.
this idea, he would open the door for me when I was 21. So I've been reading and believing most of my life. And so you just saw me lose what I was saying, which is a very ADHD thing. I will be talking about something and then I just lose. I'm like, well, where was I?
You were
And
you were talking about the part 4 where it ended up
yes,
me and my
yes.
mom. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing me back. And
Yes.
that was so liberating for me too, to be able to share that now with someone. Where before, if I had interviewed somebody, I would have been embarrassed about the fact that
Mm,
I'm not distracted, I'm not doing anything else, I'm not on my phone, I'm present in this conversation, but my brain just will let go of things. And I always say that when I am myself, then you and the audience is free to be themselves. And I know, by the way, before I go back to what I was going to say, which I'm going to tell you is about your mom and going directly to her, but I know that there was a lot of fear around putting this message out into the world and the judgment, what people would think of you. Because let's face it, we live in a world where there's a lot of judgment
mhm,
and a lot of people are very skeptical. And I loved also how you handled skepticism and being atheist. And I loved it. I thought this is such a good book for somebody with ADHD. But back to where I was going to ask you is that you were able to communicate directly with your mom. And as I've shared, although I'm open to all of this, I haven't had any of those experiences.
mm,
But I get God winks all the
yeah,
time, which is funny
yeah,
because I call them God winks and you refer to them as God winks as well. It was
yes.
like there's so much parallel. It was like Betty's sitting here with me telling me we need to connect.
Yeah, no kidding. You know, Jamie, just write it down. I encourage everyone to do that when people reach out to me and say, "What should I do? I just lost my son, or my daughter just died, or my dad, my grandma, whatever, your best friend." I always say, just get a little journal and get yourself a really good pen. Invest in a good pen. I have tons of
Mhm,
these where I replace the ink and just write those moments down. Like just write the day, the time, how you were feeling when that happened. And then also ask for the signs. Just say, hey, guardian angels, my grandma, whoever you're connected to. I go down a roll call when I take a walk in the morning. I literally do a roll call of everyone that has crossed over that
mhm,
has been in my life. I have a full list of all of them, the
mhm,
dates that they've left. And so
mhm,
I always ask them, is there something I need to know from your advantage point now? Now that you see the big picture, is
mhm.
there somewhere that I need to be? Are there people I need to connect with? Is there a message that I need to receive? And I'll tell you what, I get them all the time. Just got another one this morning as I hopped in my car. I never listened to the song. I didn't even know what this song was. And the song Solitude came on. And it's a rapper. And I was just about ready to like skip it and try to find my playlist, Jane's Vibe.
Mhm.
And I started listening to the lyrics. I'm like, it's all about getting quiet, connecting with God or whatever that divine spirit is that you like to call it,
Mhm,
slowing down, breathing,
mhm.
stretching, listening, communing with nature. I'm like, now I love this song. I added it to Jane's Vibe when I got home. I'm like, oh, I don't even know this dude.
Well,
Anyway, that happens a lot to me.
I have to tell you that everything that you just listed are things that we tell people with ADHD that they need to do better with their ADHD. And I know Elizabeth Gilbert, are you familiar with her?
Yes. Love
Apparently, when
Gilbert.
she lost her partner, she did the same thing where she would write to her partner and her partner would come through
Mm,
her pen. So I
right.
didn't know if you knew that.
Yes, there's all kinds of ways to do it, and different people, like for me, everybody's like, "How'd you connect? How'd you do it?" Because I had such fear. By the way, I had no idea that it was going to just be me and mom. None. I
Mhm,
had part 1, part 2, part 3. I thought, "Done. Got the book.
mhm,
I'm good to
mhm,
go. I'm ready to publish."
mhm.
And I checked in with Pam just to check in, not to ask my mom any more questions, but just to find out if she was happy with what I'd done thus far and was ready to publish. And it was so great. Pam's like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, Betty. All right. Okay. I'll let her know. Your mother says that you do not need me to connect, that you can actually hear me. You've been connecting with her. And no, okay, yeah, I'm not offended at all. She's talking to my mom and she's laughing. She's like, your mom is so cute. No, I take no offense to this, Betty. And then she goes, okay, I'll let her know. And I'm like, what? And she said, your mom likes it. There is a prologue and epilogue, part 1, part 2, part 3. But she said, there will be a part 4. And I was like,
Mhm.
can't do this. I'm not psychic. I would people are going to think I'm nuts. But once I got quiet and I asked and the whole tingle came over me, I
Mm.
couldn't write fast enough. Like, I would ask her a question, and then she would just speak. And it's not me. I mean, I don't have those highly I think I'm kind of elevated sometimes, but not like
Mhm.
that. I don't have
Mhm.
that stuff going on in me, and you couldn't fake that if you tried. It just, like, flowed. So,
Wow.
everybody gets it differently. Some people can get it through audio, some
Mhm.
people get it through feeling it or hearing it, some sense it, some smell it.
Mhm.
I mean, it can come in all kinds of ways.
Right. No, it's so interesting going on a tangent because I do that so well. I was doing a 12-step program shortly after my divorce. I'm codependent, which is a very, very common trait for people with ADHD. And I remember knowing that I was supposed to speak because my chest would just start to tighten and pulse. And I would just be sitting there and then I'm being called. I have to speak. And I don't remember what religion that it was, but that was how they would all sit around, and there was no minister, rabbi, it was lay led, and that they would just know that they were supposed to speak when that feeling came to them. And so anyway, just again, side tangent. So I there
I
were
like that side tangent. I think that's just being true to yourself. I mean, I
right.
always feel like we have something on our heart and we don't express it. What are you going to do? Push it down? And then
Mhm,
eventually you're just going to blow. I
mhm,
think it's important to lean into exactly who we are and honestly get rid of the fear. That's why wore this shirt to say it's expand without fear. It's what my mom kept saying to me because I was gripped with fear about
mhm,
putting this out to the world. I mean, I was a rock and roll chick. I was on every radio station in this town for
mhm,
years. And radio personalities can be a little caustic and kind of judgy. Love them. But for instance, like if a superstar dies, like within seconds, they're throwing barbs around in jokes, right?
mhm,
Just a dark humor. And
mhm.
so here I am doing flip off the radio. I retired. I like hung up my radio headphones and put this book out. But you know what? The greatest thing is when my mom said, "Get out of your own way. What do you
Mhm.
care what anyone thinks? The people that need to hear this will come to it. And the ones that don't won't. They're not ready. And if they don't want to hear it, what do you care? It doesn't matter. You don't write a book to get rich. I'll tell you that right now."
That is such a beautiful segment into, why I thought that this was such a good message to bring to an ADHD audience, which leads me to a question or a conversation that we had very briefly before we started recording. Jane came to me and said, "I have not been diagnosed with ADHD. I just want to let you know." She was worried that she couldn't come on. And I said, "Jane, don't worry about it. Not everybody who's on this show has ADHD. Sometimes there is a message that my community needs to hear. And there's so much of self acceptance in your message." But I said to Jane, "Are you comfortable if I sort of bring up the ADHD and invade your privacy?" And Jane, you did say yes.
Yes.
So you're going to be, if you're listening to this podcast, which obviously you're listening or you wouldn't hear it, I'm going to take a pause actually, and then we're going to pick that up. But I just teased something because we're going to explore some reasons that I asked Jane if she had considered that she might also have ADHD. Are you tired of feeling like you can't get it together? Struggling with clutter that overwhelms you despite your best efforts? Wondering why organization feels impossible while others make it look so easy? You're not alone, and it's not your fault. Hi, I'm Jami Shapiro, host of the Grandma Has ADHD podcast, and I understand exactly what you're going through. I combine my years of hands-on work as founder of Silver Linings Transitions, a move management and home organizing company, together with ADHD coach training, and help adults 50 and over connect the dots between ADHD and lifelong struggles. Whether you're downsizing, decluttering, or simply trying to create systems that work for your ADHD brain, I provide virtual and in-person coaching for those in the San Diego area. Together, we'll develop practical strategies that honor how your brain actually works, not how you think it should work. Ready to trade shame for understanding? Visit grandmahasadhd.com or call to schedule a discovery session at 760-607-6985. 7377 because it's never too late to finally make sense of your story. Ever wondered why helping a loved one declutter feels like speaking different languages? I did, especially with my mom. It wasn't until I founded Silver Linings Transitions, helping San Diego seniors organize and move for over a decade, that I discovered why. We all experience clutter differently, and for those of us with ADHD, it's a whole other world. If you are listening in the San Diego area and feeling stuck with moving, paperwork, photos, or home organization, our team at Silver Linings Transitions gets it. We understand ADHD's unique challenges, and we won't just help you get organized, we'll create sustainable systems that finally stick. Schedule a consultation with our team today at 760-522-1624. That's 760-522-1624, or find us at silverliningstransitions.com. Jane, are you ready for this conversation?
I'm ready.
Okay. So there is this thing, I believe it's called the ventricular activating system, or I think you even mentioned it in a book. It's when you're looking for something, you see it. Do you know what I'm talking about? So actually, Jen Sincero writes about, she wrote the book of, oh gosh, You Are a Badass. There you go. I could picture it. And she says there's an exercise where she tells you to take a minute and observe everything in that next minute that you see that's yellow. And then you go back to the book after the minute. And then she says, well, what did you see that was red? And then you're like, well, I didn't see anything that was red, because you were looking for the yellow. So in a self-disclaimed message to you, Jane, because I am eating, sleeping, breathing ADHD, I see it everywhere. I see it in the books that I just was listening to the Billy Joel biography. And I'm like, I think he had ADHD. So listen, I'm not a doctor and I am not able to diagnose. However, there are a few things about you that make me think you may have ADHD. But I tell you that I tend to be drawn to people with ADHD. Like we just seem to be people who get each other. And from the instant you and I connected, I was drawn to you. So that was the number one reason, which is absolutely not anything that you diagnose. But there are a few other things that you've even said in this conversation or that I've observed in this book. So can I share those traits with you?
Absolutely. I'd love to hear it.
So you told me that you were working on several manuscripts. You had several things going at one
Oh, yeah.
time. We tend to like to start new projects. It's really hard for us to do one and then finish it and then go to the next one and then finish it. We are like, our brains are like popping. There's just
Right.
always stuff. So that was number
Yes.
one. You have a sense of adventure. You were the only person in your family that left Michigan and moved to California.
That's true.
And they think that the ADHD incidence is actually higher in the US because we had to be brave and we had to chart a new course for ourselves and decide that this isn't enough. So
Really?
that's another reason. And then you have a very strong sense of justice. You want the world to be fair. You want to make it right. You are a person of high integrity. I always trust people with ADHD. Now, I'm going to say this. You can have ADHD and you can have other things like narcissism or borderline, and I'm not even going into that. I'm just going of just ADHD. I usually will trust someone significantly because I know they have such a strong sense of justice that they're going to do the right thing. And I noticed in the work that you've done mission work, even in the writing and the way that you described, it was so important to you that people are fair. You were really struggling with what was going on in the world. And your mother was telling you, just let them be who they're going to be, even with religion. And as a Jewish person, I appreciate when people don't judge me because I don't believe the way that they believe. So you have a tolerance that is very common. You're creative. Like I always find that people with ADHD are super creative. I used to think that everybody who had ADHD had clutter, and I've learned that that's absolutely not the case. I always say you meet one person with ADHD, you meet one person with ADHD. We tend to have a lot of energy. We tend to be very intuitive. We're just intuitive people. Like we just have a sense about things. And then when you said that you replaced the ink, like there's something in the ADHD space where we like sparkleize. We have to make something new and exciting so that it is not the mundane. So like, for instance, when you were in school, did you doodle a lot when you were,
Yeah.
no?
I doodle all the time. I
Okay.
doodle constantly. I
Okay.
mean, I can't stop it.
Yeah, that's a sign. Did you tend to daydream?
Oh,
Like, would you
yeah.
just
Are you kidding? Every
do you
day. I mean, leave, I would go to other planets in my
Mhm.
dreams. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to say this. I took a test for ADHD. It was funny. I was going through some old photos and I had snapped a picture because my ex husband had accused me of ADHD years and years before. And I took the online test and it said I didn't have it. Well, that was so wrong. But what I have learned about ADHD since going through ADHD coach training is ADHD changes at different times in our lives. And so I have two children with ADHD. When I started this podcast, I would tell everybody I had one child with ADHD because it shows up differently depending, and we tend to be very bright, so we're able to mask a lot of it. Like, I
Hmm.
used to do the homework, the class before it was due, and still maintain reasonably decent grades because I needed that adrenaline to
Mm,
motivate me to get stuff done.
hmm,
So,
interesting.
anyway,
No, now I want to take the test. I can't my brain is just like overwhelmed a lot of times. That's why I need to breathe. I need
mhm.
to slow down, walk with my dog. That is huge. Walking meditation for me. And classical music too is another one. If I hear too much agitating music, I can get really like,
Oh my
you know.
gosh, you're right.
Um, so I just need to have that level of calmness. So yeah, speaking of doodling, do I doodle all the time?
Well, again, I cannot diagnose, but we can
Right,
definitely
right.
continue this conversation. But I do want to take it back to the book because I want to give the book the credit that it deserves. And there were a few pages that I kind of dog eared and like, oh, I want to talk to her about that.
Okay,
I will say that I'm going to skip the one about your mom on page 134, where she says she
okay.
lives several incarnations, because I think that's too big for this conversation today.
Yeah,
Although it's definitely something I'd like to explore, but it's like whoosh. I've heard it
yeah.
before, but I loved when you talked about brain imbalances
Oh, yeah.
and that we need to accept people for being on their own path and for not judging others or ourselves. And ADHD brain is deficient in dopamine, which is why we tend to go and seek pleasure or seek thrills or cause ourselves to like wait till that last minute to get that adrenaline hit. And seems like, so I wanted to mention that to you and kind of what your thoughts were
Yeah.
on it.
Well, I think I really liked what my mom said. She said it takes a really big person to have the courage to step forth and say, "Hey, I need some help here. I'm having interesting thoughts that I don't think are aligned with my highest good." And
Mhm.
so I love that she was saying that it takes a really courageous person to step forward and to say, "I need help." And who doesn't? I mean,
Right.
nobody's got this on lockdown. Come on. If you don't think
Mhm.
we all need help in one way or another, right? And we're all working together about in how to do that. And so I like that. I like that a lot. And my dad called her Sarge because she ran our family like she was running the military platoon. He also called her Doc because she would read all the time and she would diagnose people's stuff all the time.
I
So
do
it
that
was
too.
yeah, it was very cute. I mean, I really liked that because she said, even though dad teased me about being a doctor, obviously she was the furthest thing from
Mhm.
having a degree in that, an
Sure.
MD. So, yeah.
So I have to share with you, it's going to be an upcoming episode, but since we're going
Okay.
there, I'm going to share. So I was listening to Dr. Daniel Amen, who was doing an interview with Jay Shetty, and he is a psychiatrist and a brain specialist who's done all these brain scans. And
Okay.
he was actually talking about ADHD with Jay Shetty. And he says there are more than three types of ADHD, but he was saying that you can actually see ADHD tendencies back to biblical days. If you
Mm.
were to study the Bible and some of the tendencies of people with ADHD, you would see it.
Hmm.
So I did an AI. If I were reading the Bible, which characters or would I see? So he names a few. But here was the big one that really stuck with me, and that was the Salem witch trials. And
Oh,
that was the women, and the reason that they were persecuted, they tended to be in their 40s. Well, what happens to women in their 40s?
they,
Perimenopause.
yeah,
And
totally. The
and
change.
estrogen is pro-cognitive, and that's why a lot of women start to discover their own ADHD when they are starting to see fluctuations in their menopause.
Interesting.
And so then I asked AI, what were the traits of these women who were persecuted? and they were not able to live up to the Puritan society standards. They couldn't sit still in services. They would blurt things out. They didn't want to be told what to do. And
Oh,
then I'm going to keep, I'm going to do a whole episode on this. And then I was
that's
actually doing an
great.
interview with someone who, a friend of mine who's in the industry. He owns Bright Star Home Care, and he was in his 40s and he started to show signs of cognitive impairment that he thought was early onset dementia. So he makes an appointment with his doctor, and the doctor screens him and says, "You don't have dementia, you have ADHD." Well,
Wow.
then since then, his child has been diagnosed with ADHD, his sibling has been diagnosed with ADHD, and then he has a niece or nephew with ADHD. So I said, "Dan, which of your parents do you think had ADHD?" And he said, "Neither of them had ADHD." I said, "Dan, did either of them smoke?" He goes, "Yeah, my mom smoked like a chimney." Well,
Mm,
then you go out and you look at what does nicotine do to an ADHD brain? It calms them down. It acts like a natural stimulant.
mm.
So all of these people in our lifetime who were smoking were very likely masking ADHD. And we had no awareness of ADHD. I didn't even get diagnosed until 10 years ago, but I knew that my half brother had it, and we knew my dad had it because we saw the hyperactivity, and ADHD was being diagnosed in boys. They were the hyperactive little boys that were in class. And then, of course, the whole grandma has ADHD thing came when I realized that my mom, who could sit and read for hours and was the complete opposite of hyperactive, had undiagnosed ADHD, which then got confirmed by her therapist, her psychiatrist, and her general practitioner.
Hmm.
So
Different. It manifests itself differently in everyone, I guess.
it does, and it's been there. We have all been, like, cobbling it together. So the reason that I bring this up is that there's a part where you mention struggling with people and having a hard
Mm,
time with someone that really hurt you. And again,
yes.
I'm the same way. I have a very strong sense of justice. And if somebody does me wrong, or someone that I love, I cannot let go of it. It's really hard for me, and I wanted to talk to you because I know that people with ADHD, at least, can struggle with that. They tend to have a lot of rejection sensitivity, social anxiety. So I would love to hear where the book led you with that, because it's definitely something I work towards.
Yeah, it's painful. It's really hard, especially when you're blindsided by a relationship that you have in your head is one way, and then this other person tells you that's not how they perceive the relationship, and then it gets torn apart. And I love my people. I really, to this day, I had like a 42-year relationship, very good best friend in the whole wide world. And she decided to blast me through an email, like really blast me, like so much so that I like burst into tears and I was sobbing. And then I reread it and reread it and reread it. And then I responded. And what did I do? I apologize. Oh my God, I didn't know I was an ogre. Oh my God, I didn't know I was this horrible human being. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then she thanks me for the apology, but then she starts another laundry list of things
Mm.
wrong with me. And so halfway through reading that email, I actually burst out laughing. And I thought, we're done. But I will tell you this, I have learned a lot about letting go. And what I do to let go is I pray for her. I send her so much love and light. I hope she can find a new friend. I think there's something going on that I'm not aware of because, I mean, we were very good friends. I mean, really, really, really good friends. So sometimes people surprise me, and we do need to let go of damaging relationships. But the best way to do it is not to fight it, not to throw anything negative at it, not even don't feel sorry for them either, because then you're giving them that not so kind energy. Just love, pour the love on it from a distance, let them go. Godspeed. I hope you find your way because I truly believe when I cross and this friend crosses, we'll be reunited and we'll go, oh, I see. Now I see what you were talking about. I get it. Oh my gosh. And there's nothing to fix because we will have this greater understanding that if you really are coming from love and we return to love, what is there to be upset about? Why do we hate on people for no apparent reason or judge them? It's like,
Mhm.
just stop it. Stop it.
I know they say one of the best things that you can do when you're in discourse with someone is to try and be in their shoes and to experience things in a way that they may be experiencing. And then again, I saw kind of your eyes go up. There can be a mental illness and there can be, but I also have heard one of my beliefs about what comes next is that when we do pass, we experience the ways that we made other people feel, both good and
Mm,
bad. And
absolutely.
so that's one of my things. So, okay, I always like to ask when I'm closing my interview. First off, I want to make sure that if people can find you who
Okay.
want to get your book. So, anything that you want to leave everybody with before I ask you the final question?
Just be kind. I don't think that there's enough of that right now. And it doesn't matter what you perceive as somebody doing wrong to you or against you. I don't know. I just think that kindness and compassion is really the way that we're going to get through a very tumultuous time on the planet. And I don't think it's about unicorns and magic wands and rainbows. I do truly, truly believe it's about our shared humanity, about being kind. So that is my thing. It's like, if you can do anything or be anything at all, please be kind.
Okay. So then we'll go back to the other. I was going to just say that if you wanted to find Jane's book or listen to her, I believe you're relaunching your podcast.
I am.
It's
Yes.
called The Next Room, correct?
Yes. But I'm refocusing it on grief because I have
Okay.
found that I need to get a little bit more concise with my message and grief. And obviously, the afterlife is a big part of it, but people are hurting. And
Mm.
I have been finding and hearing from my fan base that they really need help to work through the stages of grief. And not that I'm an expert, but I have a lot of tools in my toolbox to help them through grief because God knows I did it myself. And I continue to do it every time. Like, people call me every day, like, oh my gosh, my sister just died. And I'm like, okay, here's what you got to do. Here's what we're going to do to get through this. So, yes, I'm restructuring and I'll relaunch it in the fall. So, but right now I'm writing the next room too. So that has got me hyper focused. And of course, I'm working for this really bitchin' company called Silver Linings Transitions, and I'm doing some outreach for them. So I'm a busy girl.
Yeah, sounds like it. It sounds like a case of ADHD, if you ask me.
All over the place.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
can continue that one. Okay. So here you mentioned grief. First of all, so that I don't forget, Jane has a website right now. It's Jane Asher Reaney. So it's spelled JaneAsherReaney.com. So that's if you want to find Jane, find her books. This is my question.
Yes.
When somebody realizes that they have likely been living with ADHD their whole lives, and I'll give you the case of my mom, brilliant woman, but never finished college and just could never find the career or the thing and just kind of would move from thing to thing to thing and is now 78 years old and reflecting on her life. And interestingly, she's co writing the book with me. But not everybody is gonna be co-writing a book at 78, but a lot of people are coming to the discovery that they have had ADHD their whole lives, and they've always felt like they were too much or they couldn't get it together, and they've had all these negative messages coming at them. There's a grief. There's a grief and there's a relief, like a relief and, "Oh, there was nothing wrong with me, my brain worked differently." But what do you say to the grief?
You know what? I work with it. It's almost like I put it on like a favorite old sweatshirt that's not so favorite. And you got to live with it. You learn to grow with your grief, I guess, is what I've been finding. And that it actually helps you break through to a greater understanding of why we're here. Because to grieve, whether you're grieving a loss of one of your favorite people, whether you're grieving loss of income, maybe you're grieving a divorce, whatever it is, we grieve in so many different ways. And I just really think it's important that we embrace it. kind of grow with it because it will push you. It will break you down because it is an astonishingly strong emotion and it's tied so directly to love. So if you're grieving really hard right now, it's because you've loved really hard. So there's that side of it. So you can't be down on it. You have to
No,
kind of like look at it and massage it and play with it and go, I see you. And then welcome it in. As my big sister Lynn would say, have your pity party and then put on your big girl panties and deal with it. So I don't know
I
if that answers your question
no,
or
I
not.
love that, and it reminds me actually of the Ecclesiastes verse, "To everything there is a season."
I love
And that when I was going through my divorce, a time to break down and a time to build, and I just got chills, by the way, as soon as I said it to you. Like, I
so
think
did I.
that there are joys of ADHD and amazing, amazing gifts, and there are albatrosses. And I think that we are so concerned with not feeling our feelings and pushing our feelings away and eating our feelings and drinking our feelings and medicating our feelings. And sometimes you just have to be in it and let it pass through you. So I
No
don't think
kidding.
I could have said anything better. This is such a great interview, one of my longest, but I am not surprised because, like I said, I couldn't wait to have a conversation with you as I was reading the book, just more and more and more things. Thank you for being part of my life, being a guest on the Grandma Has ADHD podcast, and for being an amazing, amazing new team member for Silver Linings Transitions here in San Diego. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to it, share it with your friends and your family. And we are building a community called on Grandma Has ADHD Facebook page. I'm going to put this out there right now. I am so nose down in completing my manuscript so that it can launch for October for ADHD Awareness Month that I'm not managing the page as well as I should because I only have so much bandwidth. But if you go there and you post, there are people who are sharing their experiences. It is going to be an amazing, supportive community. And we all need people. We are all here with other people for a reason. And so, anyway, thank you so much for listening. And this really was a message in making the rest of your life the best of your life. Thanks so
Mm.
much. The opinions expressed on Grandma Has ADHD podcast are those of our guests and hosts and are intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. This podcast does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content discussed in this episode is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, mental health professional, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or mental health concern. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The hosts, guests, and producers of Grandma Has ADHD do not assume any liability for the content of this podcast. Listen at your own discretion.